Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Strawberry Shift, where we have enthusiasm for love, and you're here at day 18. Day 18 for Celebrate Compassion. I am proud of you, and I am celebrating you, and you are going to love today, because today we're going to talk about where you live and all the beautiful souls who are around you in your local community. Today is where we are going to expand outside of ourselves. I do want to share with you, where this came from. In our Western culture, one of my teachers, I always like to give credit where credit is due, Dr. Gabor Mate. He wrote so many great books, but the one I'm referencing right now is The Myth of Normal. And he talks about, in The Myth of Normal, our toxic culture that we live in. And when I read that book, it hit me how we each can make a difference in our culture, how we can each, when we get to a point, right? This is where we started off with your own self-compassion. And then you're building that muscle of forgiveness and having compassion for someone that you have held resentment or anger or even mild annoyance towards. And now you have something to offer. You have something to offer your local community. I know whenever I have this conversation with one of my clients, I can almost hear you saying it. Mandy, I don't have time. I don't have time. You don't know. I have so many kids. I got this job. I got that. I want you to know that I hear you, and this is not to add stress. This is actually for you. So if you give me a shot here, just hear me out. Hey man, you've come this far, day 18, yo. The Dalai Lama says, you want to be happy, practice compassion. You want to make others happy, practice compassion. One of my favorite spiritual teachers is Ram Dass. And Ram Dass tells this beautiful, kind of funny story about him going to India, meeting his guru. Ram was a Harvard professor and everything. And he asked his guru, how can I reach enlightenment? What can I do to reach enlightenment? # goals, right? And his guru said, feed people. That's it. The way Ram tells the story is so funny because he's like, I don't think he knows who I am. That's not it. So he asked him the same question, just a different way. And his guru responded, love people. I may not get the quote verbatim, but I know that the Dalai Lama says something about happiness. You find yourself in service of others. You find yourself when you serve others. And this is so important for us to recognize the quality of service. I'm not talking about people pleasing. There's a difference between people pleasing and actually serving others. Huge difference. And that's what today is about. Today is about deciding how you can give of this beautiful heart that you have to your local community. So wherever you live, whatever town, whatever city you live in, I know without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, look at you. Hello, you're talking about compassion and celebrating compassion. That's pretty awesome. Again, I'm not saying that to stroke your ego. It's just a fact. And there is something I know that you can do in your local community that would make an impact. It's not about like taking over. It's not about saving, but it is about finding something that would give you joy. And it doesn't need to be a big commitment. The reason why this is important, our toxic culture has trained and conditioned us to be narcissistic, greedy consumers. I don't know how else to say it. If I were to sum up, Dr. Mate's book, The Myth of Normal, and if I were to look at what has really caused so much loneliness and so much anxiety and depression and mental illness and suicide and all of that, this belief that many people have bought into and our culture has bought into, that we are separate, that we're not actually interconnected. And when you have an experience, I mean, there's only so much I could say to you over the screen here that's going to digest, that's going to get imprinted, that you're going to receive. The biggest gift that I know I can give you is to do whatever I can to inspire you. And maybe you already are. And that's beautiful. Then if you are, I want to celebrate you. I want to high five you. I want to say that's awesome. Then this is just reinforcing you to keep on. So if you're like, Mandy, I already am. I'm doing this in my community. I'm doing that in my community. Then right on. This video is simply celebrating you and reinforcing you and acknowledging you. Then just keep doing that. Okay, if you're already doing something. Now I'm talking to those of you who aren't doing anything. And I wasn't for many years either. This is to inspire you to get curious and to have some fun with this. This is totally up to you. I mean, you could say, hey, screw you, Mandy, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, you got that free will. You don't have to do this. Let me share with you what will happen if you do it. Okay? The key is to find something that you would just love to participate in, that you would just really enjoy. You would be like, hey, this is gonna be kind of fun. I promise you, there is something in your local community where either A, you can volunteer that has some structure. I mean, they're always looking for people with, at the hospital, the Humane Society, sometimes at the schools, like there's so many organizations and companies that are always looking for help. Always. And if you don't want something consistent, there are companies that do events that are always looking for help with events and things like that, or fundraisers. Like think about your superpowers and think about what you love to do and think about what gives you joy. That's where you begin. You know, I had a client where I went over this with her and she had a lot of resistance because she was like, Mandy, I am so busy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I get it. Will you just play with me? We'll have this one conversation. I'm not going to try and convince or persuade you. I'm just going to plant some seeds. If you just let me share this with you once, and then I'll drop it and I'll never bring it up again. Fair enough? You know, she's like, okay. I said, one of the reasons to do this for yourself, it helps you grow because it helps you get out of you. It helps you see that there is a world that is outside of your world that you're so used to being in. And I know you know this intellectually, but when we don't experience it on a regular basis, we get amnesia. It's not enough to know it. We need to feel it. We need to experience it. I know I had to do this for myself. So I'll share with you my experience. You know, I love animals. If you follow me on social media, you know, like I'm not just an animal lover, I'm an animal activist. So I'm a vegan. I am very passionate about animals. I love them, all types of animals, all of them. And so when I found out that there is a farm sanctuary less than 20 minutes from my home, and this beautiful, beautiful French woman named Dominique owns it, and she's always looking for volunteers, I was like, shut the front door, the back door, all the cupboards. I want to do that. So every other Sunday, I go and I volunteer at her farm, you know, and she rescues elderly farm animals. I mean, she's like an angel on planet Earth. Like, I love this woman. So there's pigs. I love pigs. There's horses. There's cows. There's goats. There's so many goats. They're so funny. There's ducks. There's these mean geese that I'm determined. One of them's Goosifer. I'm determined to have Goosifer like me. I mean, there's like, I'm in heaven. And when I go there, I'm so excited to go there. And then I get to feed them. I get to water them. I feel like I'm Snow White. I'm like, like it's so fun. I mean, it's hard work. It is like manual labor. I won't lie, but it's so fulfilling. Like I am so happy to go. I feel so good afterwards, and it gives me joy. It gives me joy. And I've had some things that I've gone through personally where I've just felt like crap. I just was feeling really low. And wouldn't you know it, I was scheduled to go volunteer. And there were some days where I didn't feel like volunteering, or I was like, oh, I don't know if I have the energy. And, I just dragged myself to the farm. And sure enough, every time the animals lifted me up and it felt so good. Like I knew, and it's such a simple act, water, feeding them, picking up poop. And it felt really good too to kind of like take off the hat of Coach Mandy and just to be this human connecting with these animals and to see this like other woman, this very beautiful, powerful woman who is created this all herself. Like it's her idea and she's leading it and she's doing it. And she's such an inspiration in me because she just decided I'm going to do this. And she also works full time as an esthetician and she inspires me to stay strong. Like seeing Dominique and seeing like, she's like very petite and I swear she weighs less than 90 pounds, but she's stronger than most people. And she inspires me every time I see her. So it's feeding. Like, I think I'm doing her a service. I think I'm doing the animals a service. It's feeding me. So my client who I shared this with, she said, okay, Mandy, crap. I know what I want to do. And I'm like, what? And she told me, and I had no idea. This was a client that I didn't do the whole 2.5 intake with. If I would have done the 2.5 intake with, I would have known. But she used to be a nurse. And now she's this influencer and she makes millions of dollars. So there's no way she's going back to like being a nurse. But she said, Mandy, I kind of miss the hospital, but I haven't told anybody that. She said, because I felt weird. Like here she is, this influencer, and she's like this movement leader and she's making millions of dollars, but she still has this part of her that misses being a nurse and helping people. And so she was like, I'm going to volunteer at my hospital. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. So I remember when she texted me in her volunteer outfit and she signed up to volunteer at her local hospital and she was like loving it and she loved the people. And she said, no one knows that I'm this influencer. No one knows that she's like, I like that. I like that no one knows this side of my life. And then on our next session, I remember she said my favorite thing, and I would echo her statement. She said, Mandy, it's feeding my soul. I rest my case, Your Honor. Feeding my soul. How cool is that? So, you willing to experiment? You willing to try something out? And hey, the first thing you try out may not be it. My client and myself, like we scored. We found what we like gave us joy and made our soul sing right away. Maybe you need to try some things out. And maybe the first thing you try out, maybe it's not it, but that doesn't mean that your thing doesn't exist. So I encourage you to have the mindset of experimenting until you find something that gives you joy, until you can say, this is feeding my soul. That's the goal. I can't wait to hear about it. Day 18, you're doing great. I'll see you day 19. Take care, my friend.